Hey everybody, my name is Jared and I'm a 25-year-old college dropout and I just bought this truck. So I'm gonna try something a little different today. I was a little hesitant to make this video at first, but I think it's important. Just because if there's somebody out there that's watching this and they're going through kind of a rough spot, I think it's important for you to know that, yeah, things might suck right now, but things do change for the better. You just have to know where to keep looking. As a few of you probably know, I'm really into the automotive scene. And my goal when I actually started this YouTube channel was to eventually turn it into an automotive channel. Only problem was I was in college, I was poor as all hell, and I live in Wisconsin where the car scene is basically non-existent. So I decided to make my content around something that was free and readily available, which happened to be, Wisconsin itself. And you guys have really liked it. And when I started this channel at the time, I had no money. I hated college. I was failing half my classes, and I just constantly felt miserable. So a few months later, I actually told my fiance and I told my parents that I was dropping out of college. And obviously, they didn't like that. But I, went on and did it anyway. Simply because I was just sick and tired of feeling miserable 24/7. I already had a job lined up for the summer, just a summer job, so I wasn't really worried about finding work. But I told myself that once my summer job was over, I was going to try and find another job, something that was in the automotive industry. And so, I did some looking around, and really the only things I could find that didn't require any prior experience was detailing cars. Now, I found a local place, I applied, didn't hear anything back. Called them, didn't hear anything again. I was basically being ghosted by this company I was trying to apply to. And at this point, my summer job was about to end, and I still didn't have another job lined up. Flashback to a couple of months before that. It was November 2018, and it was the day after Thanksgiving. I remember it like it was yesterday. I asked the love of my life, Kelsey, to marry me, and she said yes. By the way, in case you were wondering. And at this point, I had been, in school for a couple of years now, so I had some student loans. But I was on track to graduate in May 2020 if I passed all my classes. Spoiler alert. I did not. So that was part of the reasoning behind dropping out of school. Fast forward back to August 2019. My summer job that was paying me only $14 an hour. Actually, I don't even know if it was that much. Anyway, that job was coming to an end. I didn't have a new job lined up yet. I had an engagement ring that I was paying for, student loans that I'd have to start paying back eventually, and a wedding coming up in a little less than a year that I knew I was going to have to start paying for as well. And as you can imagine, my stress level was pretty high. And not to mention my current car at the time, it wasn't doing too great, and I honestly didn't know if it was going to make me through the winter. So I constantly had that kind of, looming over my head. When is that expense going to come in? So the last week of my summer job, rolls around. Still haven't found a job yet, so I'm, scouring the internet for anything that I can find. And honestly, at this point, I'm not picky. I just need something. And I happened to scroll across an ad on Indeed that said, make $70,000 a year. That's all it said. Obviously, I clicked on it. And it turns out that it was for a car sales position at Bergstrom Automotive. Now, if you're from Northeast Wisconsin, you know all about Bergstrom. They're the largest dealer in the state. But immediately, I thought of a stereotypical car salesman. They're dishonest, they lie, they cheat and they steal from people, and, not all around that great of people. And I didn't want to be associated with those people. But the $70,000 was just almost too good to pass up. So I did a little bit of research into Bergstrom, and boy, was I surprised at what I found. It was honestly nothing like what I thought it was at all. They adopted a negotiation-free selling process, which means bottom dollar prices up front instead of going through all the haggling and wasted time. They have a non-commissioned sales team, which means they're not going to try and upsell you into a vehicle that's more expensive, that they make more money on. And on top of those two things, they have a money-back guarantee and a price protection guarantee. Like, what about that sounds scary? And obviously, after reading that, that's exactly what I thought, so I applied. And then the next day, I got a call for an interview. The next day. So I went in, did the interview a couple days later, and the day after my interview, I got hired. I was so happy. There's only a handful of times that I can think of in my entire life that I was happier than that moment right there. And the first day I went to work, I remember it. I walked in, and we had a meeting at 8:30, and I sat down in the meeting, and I saw all these people in there, and they started welcoming me to the job, and I knew that I made the right choice. I started working there on September 9th, 2019. It's December 3rd. I've only been there a couple of months. But this is the only job that I've ever had that I look forward to Mondays. I really, really enjoy going to work. And which is more than I can say for most people nowadays. And not only has this job made me happier, but it's given me the financial stability that I thought I wouldn't have until I was like age 30. I honestly thought that I was going to be living paycheck to paycheck for quite a while. So 3 months ago, I didn't even know whether or not I was going to be able to afford rent, let alone help pay for a wedding and pretty much everything else that comes with that. But look at me now. I've got a new job that I absolutely love going to. I'm marrying the love of my life in a couple of months. And I have this brand new truck that I'm sitting in that makes me smile every time I turn it on. And it's still even hard to believe that this is actually mine. So for those of you watching this right now who may be going through a little bit of a tough time in your life, I want to pass on something that I've learned from watching another YouTuber and entrepreneur. You might have heard of him. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk, this guy right here. And one of the things that he preaches all the time is when it comes to success, success is something that should be measured by how happy you are, not how much money you make. And it took me until just recently to figure that out. Obviously, having money definitely makes things better. But if you go to your job and you absolutely hate it, at what cost is it coming at? Anyway, there's one more thing that I want to share with you that I learned from Gary. And that's patience. The chance of your life just randomly changing for the better overnight is pretty much zero. 6 years ago, if you would have told me that at this point in time, I'd be selling cars and absolutely loving it, I would have laughed in your face. Because I was going to school to be an engineer, and I was going to be one of the smartest people on the planet. Well, guess what? That didn't turn out too well, did it? I think the world has an interesting way of pointing people in the right direction. Because at first, it may look like the completely wrong direction, until you end up getting to where you wanted to go, and realizing that the only way to get there was to go through all that crap that you didn't want to do. So if you've made it to the end of the video here and you're one of those people that's going through the ringer, because I know there are plenty of people that were way worse off than I was. And I understand that being in the position that I am now. But for those of you who may not be in the greatest of spots, take my advice. Don't just sit there and wait for something to happen. Make something happen. And who knows, it may not seem like the right direction at first, but to be completely honest with you, somewhere is better than nowhere. And who knows? It might just end up working out for you. Because guess what? If you remember earlier in the video, I said my goal for YouTube was to start making an automotive channel. And guess what? Look where I'm sitting. And guess what? You guys have just witnessed the start. Join forces.